What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project X Talk Extra, your weekly podcast supplement from Project X Talk. This is a show where we talk about news, video games, stories, basically whatever we want that didn't quite fit the main show. Today, we have a special topic, and that is our reaction to the first episode of the Halo TV show. But
Oh
before we get
yeah.
into before we get into that, though, my name's Kevin, aka the Muffin Mon, and I'm joined by Mr. Physical Copy himself, Ethan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm just coming off of watching the episode for the second time. So that's a little sneak peek into my thoughts. I'm ready to get
That's
into this.
crazy. It's 2 hours of your
To,
life,
to be
bro.
fair, my wife also wanted to watch it. She came home
Okay.
and from her doctor's appointment, and I was like, I'll watch it again. So
Okay. Well, guys, remember, if you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share it out. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we greatly appreciate it. If you want the content early, head on over to patreon.com/Project X Talk. $1 a month. You can get all our videos early as soon as they're done. So for this one, it'll probably be like 3-4 days early, depending on when we put it out. We're trying to get it out as soon as possible. But enough of that. Let's get into the actual discussion about the Halo TV show. So I watched it this morning. You
yep.
watched it twice, as you already said. What are your overall thoughts?
I thought it was a very good start.
Okay.
It, I went into it with I know it was the popular opinion already that this wasn't going to be good. I think a lot of people online already kind of chalked this up as a loss in their minds. And I honestly kind of went into it like that. The first 20 minutes of this episode, though, absolutely hooked me. It had everything that I would want out of this. It had elites, it had Spartans dropping from orbit, not orbit, but you know what I mean, Spartans dropping from the sky and doing superhero landings. It had some great action. The CGI wasn't as offensive as I thought it would be. It wasn't that bad. I'm not a fan of CGI, but whatever. But it was great. And I think it very quickly made you understand that this is a different type of Halo,
Mm-hmm.
that this isn't the Halo that we're used to from the games, that this is going to be a much more serious mode. There were some heavy moments in this episode, especially in the first bit, on the, I forget the planet's name, begins with an M, right?
Madriddor?
Madrid or something like
Something
that.
like that, I believe.
Yeah,
Is
but there were some very heavy moments in that, and I would point to that scene where the elite opens up the tunnel where a lot of the children and women are hiding during the fighting, and he just starts unloading, and they just, you can hear him screaming, and then right when the elite starts laying down fire, it all just is silent. All you can hear is the gunfire. I was like, oh, this is different, because when I think of Halo, I
Mhm.
think of goofy grunts. I think of elites going "Rawr," and
Yeah, yeah.
Master Chief bashing their skulls in, and it's funny and it's fun and it's heroic and it's awesome. But this is a whole different level, and I'm loving the direction that they're taking on this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in
Yep.
here and say that I, for the most part, agree with you. I think this is a good start. I don't think it was perfect. There are definitely
Hmm.
some issues I had with the overall, the overall show, the presentation, and we'll get into that. But my
Yep.
overall thoughts is I'm walking away from this, and I was thinking that was a decent hour of television. I'm not a big TV guy. I'm only checking this out because it is Halo, so that already has me drawn in.
Yep.
And as you said, this was something that almost instantly I was like, they are deviating from the source material. Like we knew it wasn't going to be the same universe, wasn't going to be a retelling of Halo Combat
Right.
Evolved. This was going to be something completely on its own that just takes from the source material, pulls the characters out and makes it its own story. And I think we're getting that because if we want to get into real spoilers, like it starts with your introduction to Quan, the
Hmm.
girl, and she is rebels. She's on a rebel base on I think it's Madriddor. Is for some reason that's
I'll
stuck
do
in
a
my
live
brain.
lookup while you're
Yeah, yeah.
talking.
But they're in a rebel camp and the rebels are against the USM or US
USNS,
yeah, they're
UNSC.
they're against that. Which I'm gonna butcher it every time, because I can never keep the acronym right. And that's something that I don't think we really got in the games. Like we never saw any rebels that were against the the United States Space Corporation.
Yeah,
Um,
whatever it is.
yeah, whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. Like Master Chief and them, like they were
Yeah,
scared of Spartans, and that's not
right.
something that like I ever really got from humans in the game when I was playing them. So
Mhm.
immediately, completely different perspective there. I do. I'm okay with that. I think if Quan is going to be someone that's going to stick around and we're kind of going to see the story like from her perspective, that's fine with me because I
Yeah,
don't know if we can when you're playing as Master Chief in the game, that's one thing. You get his perspective because it's about him. I think this TV show, and this is one of the changes that maybe people don't like. I don't think it's all about Master Chief. I think it's more about the universe and like he's going to be the main character, but there's going to be other main characters.
yeah.
Did
I would agree with that. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I do think he's going to be the central focus of the show,
Mhm.
but I think we're going to have a lot kind of like that Game of Thrones style split to different areas
Yes.
and different times where different main characters are kind of taking the lead and we have this juxtaposition of different storylines going on at the same time. By the way, it's
Exactly.
Madrigal. Madrigal.
Madrigal.
That's the
Okay.
name.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, uh, do you want to talk about Master Chief's unhelmeting for a bit? I
Um.
mean,
I mean,
and how that played in?
I do. I want to get there. If we're sticking on the opening 20 minutes or so,
We want
how
to do opening
yeah,
20? Okay.
how good was that fight scene though? Like for
Oh,
for me, I did not expect there to be so much brutality
no,
in this
that was
game
one of the
in this
first things that
show.
hit me was when Kwan's first friend got hit by one of the elite
And
shots. It
they're
immediately shocked me. I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." When you see the torso fly off, and
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh man, this is
Violent and bloody. Like, okay,
really violent."
so
Yeah,
so I think, and this is because when we're playing Halo, we're playing as Master Chief or Spartans or like
right.
someone that when you get shot with a plasma pistol, you're like, okay, whatever. Like my shields are down.
Yeah,
The plasma pistols and stuff that the elites were using in this blew people
in
apart.
half. Like it's crazy.
It was ridiculously brutal. Took me by surprise for sure.
The Covenant in this show are way more serious and dangerous than they
They're
were
like
in the games, I think.
scarier than I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
that scene where they first break through the door into the city and the elites are walking in and my subwoofer is booming every time their footsteps are hitting, it got me so into
Mhm.
it. I was like, this is freaking cool. I was so excited to see the fight and then just see the absolute domination of the rebel group went up against them first before the Spartans, of course,
Mhm.
came. But they were just getting absolutely annihilated. And it kind of puts you into that position like, oh, the normal Marines aren't going to be able to take these guys on. Like, we're going to need a hero
Mhm.
to
And
fight
that
this
yeah.
covenant.
And that's when the Master Chief and Silver Team, as they're
So,
calling them in
yeah.
this, show up and they start laying siege to the Covenant. And
What a cool battle scene with Silver Team coming in like that. They did a really good job on that. That was a
I
lot of
agree.
fun.
I do have some issues with this scene.
Mhm.
In particular, the human weapons were ineffective when the rebels were using them, but seconds later, Master Chief picks up the same weapon and suddenly it's killing
Are
them.
you talking about the Gatling gun?
The Gatling gun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will say I did watch this twice, so I realized little details because the first time I watched it, I did say like, "Oh, that's kind of silly." The second time I watched it, I believe the elite he shot with that, his shields were already down.
Mm,
So I
okay.
think that was the reasoning behind that. Because I at first too, I was like, "Wait, they were just blasting him with this minigun and nothing was
Yeah,
happening." And Master Chief just picks up and can do it. But yeah, uh, so
yeah.
it's
That's just a small thing. I do
yeah,
think the fact that they showed you they're willing to be violent and like
right.
kill children
Yeah,
in
like I
this
said,
show.
heavy moments in
Yeah, yeah.
this show.
Literally, that one kid, he's like a teenager begging to be let into the safe zone, and then he gets a
Yeah.
sword through him. I was like, oh,
It's like,
okay. Like,
whoa.
felt bad for that kid in that moment because like he was obviously scared. He was talking about like fighting at the poker game
Yeah,
at the beginning.
Marines. I'm a tough guy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then to see that, like, oh, he really ain't. And then they open the door, and literally the elite just mows down all the children.
I was fully expecting General, what was it? Junhai, I
Yeah,
forget
yeah,
his name.
yeah, yeah. Juhan,
It
something
doesn't
like
really
that.
matter because he dies
He's
in the
dead.
first
Yeah,
20
he's
minutes
dead.
of the
Yeah,
show.
Quan's
But
dad.
I fully expected him to get up and distract the elite, and then they were going to
Hmm.
have a little fight scene. And then I just saw it happen, and I
Nope.
was like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
yikes.
I think the opening 20 really sets up how dangerous and like brutal the
Yep.
Covenant are in this. And we've only seen really the elite so far in combat situations, so
Mhm.
I'm excited to see more. But, Silver Team clears them out. They have the fight scene. I don't really like that they went to that first person view
Yeah,
with
that was
it
weird.
was very weird. I was like, are they trying to make you like be like, oh, it's the HUD from the game or whatever? Like, but like, it's kind of awkward in a TV show.
Yeah, it didn't work at all for me.
Yeah.
I appreciated some of the things like the shield recharge noise. I appreciated
Hmm.
there's some sound effects you could clearly tell
From
like
the
they
game
took
for
this right
sure.
from the game. That I don't think that I hope they don't do that anymore, honestly.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
they took one look at that and was like, let's just not do that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Same. So then Master Chief and them go to Silver Team. Master Chief go to find where the Covenant dropped in from,
Yep.
and they discover a cave which has a Forerunner artifact in it, which they don't know what it is at the time they find it in the show. We know what it is, obviously. If you haven't played Halo, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's a Forerunner artifact. Master Chief touches it. He gets some visions of his childhood before he was taken for the Spartan program. And
Kidnapped.
yeah, kidnap. That's the correct term.
That's
But
a great
yeah, but it kind of like you could feel a change because then he tells Silver
Yep.
Team, take the Covenant ship back on your own. I'm gonna take Quan and we're gonna get out of here. And with the artifact, they're like, that's not protocol. And immediately, this is where I start to see a little difference between this Master Chief and the one in the games
Yep.
because he's not following protocol already, and he hasn't even like really realized everything that's going on. So immediately he's like, nah, we're not doing that. I'm going back with it. And then you get the scenes with him and Quan in the ship where she's kind of like telling him like, oh, you should question things more, right?
Yeah, just kinda like putting those seeds into his head, and you can see Master Chief just through his movements, you can tell he's kind of
He's like
taking it in, and
confused.
he's
He's
like it's like his whole worldview has been completely shaken by these visions, and it's very apparent, and the whole mood of
Mhm.
the show changes right at that point after he like you said, he told Silver Team, "I'm going by myself." The whole mood changed from
Yeah,
there
yeah.
on out.
So this is really our introduction to like Halsey and the rest of
Yep.
the United States space military. And I don't know about you, I love Halsey in this
Yeah.
show so far. She is probably my favorite character in the show right now because I was like, I don't trust you in the slightest. Like you are
I
psycho.
can't gauge whether she's kind of one of the good guys or kind of one of the bad guys. I know she's not one or the other completely,
Mhm.
but she seems very I don't know. She's obviously doing things behind the UNSC's back because she knows just how ruthless and kind of evil they are in this show. And then at the same time, she's the one who ordered the kidnapping of
Yeah, yeah.
John 117. And I like that scene. I guess we'll discuss it later because
No,
it's
you could.
later in the show. You want me to
Oh,
bring? Yeah,
well.
the scene where the Spartans are walking after right before
Mhm.
Master Chief is about to land, and the Spartans are being dispatched, and she says, "Neutralize any threat to Master Chief." And
Yep.
then one of the Spartans goes, "Anybody that starts to shoot at Master Chief is an enemy, right, ma'am?" And she goes, "Yes."
Yep.
That was one of the coolest scenes. So
I agree.
I am fully on Halsey's side here. She is fully with the Spartans, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I feel like she's very protective over the Spartan
Yes.
project right now, which
Yeah.
is she was in the game to a certain extent. But she's clearly, people clearly know what she's done in this. Like her lab assistant was like, he got his memory back. Like, oh no, that's gonna be we're gonna have to fix that. And
Yeah.
it seems everyone else knows about it too because when they heard about it, then they're like, all right, well, we don't know how he's gonna react. Mobilize
Right.
everyone for when he's gonna be here, and we
That
might
one
have.
admiral lady is terrified. Like,
Yeah.
she knows the dangers of this, and she
Mhm.
just wants to neutralize the threat
Yeah,
right away, which I think she's shooting herself in the foot by doing
mhm.
this because she's
Yeah.
just provoking.
Yeah, she doesn't even know what his reaction would be, and she's immediately like, "Let's
Kill him.
kill Master Chief."
End it.
Um, but I do before they land, there is a pretty pivotal scene,
Mhm.
which is Master Chief taking off his helmet
Right.
because they try to take down Master Chief while he's still coming on the Pelican by turning off the oxygen, and that knocks out him and Quan. And then they wake up, they get that back. But she's a little, she thinks he did it and was like, I'm going to kill you, has a gun. And he's like, you can't break my suit. But to gain her trust, he's like, I'm going to take off the helmet. And this is where I'm sitting there. I'm like, are they actually going to show his face?
Yeah.
And then they just straight up do it, which for me felt a little anticlimactic. I thought this was going to be more of like a thing towards the end of the season, maybe, or
I think they did it right with this. And let me explain to you my reasoning behind this. So, before this whole show started, I remember I was talking about how I don't think Master Chief should be removing his helmet, especially in a TV show. That should be reserved for a game where they end the Master Chief story arc. With this being an alternate timeline and not canon to the main game timeline, but we still have that mystique behind Master Chief. Everyone who knows Halo is going into this, that's one of the main things in their head. Like, oh my God, are they going to remove his helmet? I like it that they did it early, and I like it that they did it quick. I like it that they took the steam out of it. They said, this is our show. This is how we're going to run it. This is Master Chief in this timeline. Like, we're not gonna freak every, because I feel like the longer you waited, the more anticlimactic it would have been. Because at the end of the day, what do you expect? It's just a guy. Like, you're not going to get any crazy revelation here. It's not like he's got tentacles coming out of his face or anything. It's just going to be a guy. And so, because that's the same thing that kind of happened in The Mandalorian. When he first removed his helmet, I know you didn't watch it, did you?
I've seen that scene though.
Yeah, he took off his helmet. I'm like, okay, it's Pedro Pascal. Whatever.
Yeah,
I don't care. Like, it's not that big a deal to me. So I'm glad that they did it quick and kind of introduced us to who Master Chief really is. And by the way, love that actor. Forget his name right now, but I really like him. So I'm glad he's Master Chief. I think he's going to play a good Master Chief.
The voice. So I think he's done a pretty good job so far. The voice isn't as like upsetting to me as I expected it to be. Like his it's not Steve Downs.
No,
and I've kind of accepted it at this point. I will say that, I don't know, it felt a little anticlimactic to me. And then I had an issue because, we already saw him start to, disobey orders, but then he just straight up desert. Like, I understand that, you're trying to save the girl because there's an execution order on her. And she's a rebel. And you're kind of having these doubts, like, what are these visions you're seeing? But to straight up be like, okay, I'm peacing out, like screw the UNSC, that didn't really feel in line with Master Chief to me, right? He's a soldier first and foremost, right?
Yeah, out of any Spartan in the program, I figured he'd be the last one to do something like that. But it's very clear that this Forerunner artifact reacts to him and him alone. Because remember in that first scene when he touches it and it starts glowing, the elite that's still alive in that cave freaks out. He's like, oh my God, how is he doing that? And then also in the scene where they show the footage from the camera where Halsey's looking at it, she goes, oh my God, how's it? And then we get introduced to that unnamed woman. We didn't get her name yet. She was talking to Mercy, who was one of the leaders of the Covenant. And
that's a good point. I forgot. So we do see High Charity, which obviously important part of the Covenant storyline. Mercy, one of the elders or whatever they're called, for the Covenant, is talking to
the guys in the floating chairs.
Yes, the guys you punch in the face.
Yes,
but it's one of those things where it's like you're talking to a human, but the Covenant I know hate humans, and it almost seemed like she was kind of like their prophet in some sort of way, like a.
There was some tension, though, between Mercy and that character. But at the end of the day, Mercy could have just ordered the elites to take the book from her. I know they were having a conversation about the book and how he wanted to read the book. And, it just kind of ended awkwardly. So I don't know what she is to them. I don't know how she came to be with them. I feel like this might go deeper because, in some of the games, the Forerunners, you find Forerunner artifacts, especially in Halo Infinite, you see models of humans in Forerunner artifacts. Like, I don't know if maybe this humanity was planted by some of these, this could go a million different ways. It's their own universe. So I'm interested to see what comes next out of that specific part of this storyline and who she is. So
Yeah, I wanna know more about the mysterious woman, what her role for the Covenant is,
Yeah,
because it almost seems like she has some importance to them. Otherwise, why wouldn't they just kill her?
exactly.
Um, how do you? And I want to bring this up because I saw this as a talking point on the Halo subreddit, and it
Yep.
drove me nuts. So they have cast Miranda and Admiral Keyes, but traditionally in the games they are white and now they are black.
Did this
And
really come up?
yes, oh my lord. So I just wanted to call this out. If you hold the opinion that this is a problem, that's something wrong with you.
Yeah, that's I didn't expect that. I mean, I noticed it when I first saw it. I'm like, "Oh, they're black.
But then
Cool."
you moved on like a
I
normal
don't
human
give a
being.
Yeah, and I looked at the actors, I saw their acting, I'm like, "Oh, these
I
guys are
thought
good."
I thought
Admiral Keyes,
Admiral
I
Keys
like
killed
Admiral
it. He
Keyes.
did.
Yeah.
Shout out Kay Asante. You did great in the role, buddy. Him the actor look like
Yeah,
each
I know,
other.
they look exactly alike. No, I was thinking about it, I'm like, is Kayasante bigger than I think?" Like, that's what I when you first said that, but yeah, they do look a lot alike.
No,
But yeah,
yeah.
they did great. The fact that that's an issue, I that surprises me, honestly. I didn't
It,
expect that, but
no, the Halo subreddit, I went on there this morning to see. I was like, what is everyone's opinion on that first episode? And that place is a cesspool of
oh,
toxicity.
really?
Oh my god, there's people that love it. Don't get me wrong. There's people
Yikes.
that
Well,
liked
yeah.
it and they have rational opinions, but the amount of people that are so upset that they changed the ethnicity of the Keys, that they cast this human girl to be with Master Chief. I saw that's Cortana's role. How dare she take Cortana? I'm like, you don't even know what Cortana's going to do
Well,
in the show
Cortana's
yet.
being formed, like,
I
she
know.
exists in the show. They mention her, so it's
I
not like
know.
she doesn't exist, but, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I'm speechless when it comes to that. It doesn't matter, and
Y-
I
Thank
think
you.
also they made it very clear that this is an alternate timeline.
I
This is not
My
the
points
games.
exactly. My
You
points
don't
exactly.
when you go into this, just don't think about the games. This is another show that just uses the same characters. If they're different races, they're
For
different
sure.
races.
For sure.
That's what it is.
100%.
And
If
why is nobody complaining? Master Chief is white because it's not like we knew his race before this.
I've always pictured him as a black man, to be honest.
I
Um,
always figured he was just. I mean, he's a Master Chief petty officer in the Navy. I figured he was just some high and tight white guy.
if if Sergeant Johnson shows up as a white dude, that's fine with me. That's all I'm
I
saying.
don't care. Like
Okay.
as
I
long as they're cool
As long as
actors and they're doing
exactly
a
as
good
long as
job.
the acting is good. Now,
Yeah.
if you hold a different opinion, get over it. Like
No, no. If you
it's
hold a different
ridiculous.
opinion, you can click off the video and never come back to us. Let's just get that thing
Yeah,
straight right
it's
now.
just nonsense. It's the amount of people that think there's some agenda against white people in Hollywood now. Uh,
Whatever.
yeah, ridiculous. I just wanted to call a few people out there because that made me a little annoyed this morning. But
Yeah.
uh, any more talking points, Ethan? Because for me, I think the show's off to a good start. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where they go. I'm not like crazy in love with it. Like it's not like I feel when I watch a Marvel show where I'm like I can't wait for next week.
Yeah. I
This
definitely want to watch the next
Yeah,
episode
yeah.
though.
For sure, for sure. I'm gonna watch every episode just
Yep.
because I love Halo and I want to see like where this goes. So for me, I'm good with it. I think it was a decent
Mhm.
start. I don't think it was amazing by any means, but certainly could have been worse.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It was a solid start. It introduced us to how the show is going to go, the vibe of it. And I one more point I want to make that I think I
Sure.
like about this show is that it really does peel back the curtain more on the UNSC and
Hmm.
the Human Command because mostly in the games, I mean, I didn't read the books. This it could be in the books as well. So don't get mad at me
Don't
about that.
crucify
But yeah,
us.
don't crucify me. But in the games, at least, it's really Master Chief soloing through different planets and different Halo rings, murking the Covenant. That's
With
really what the games are.
Well, to
With
a certain
comms
extent.
to a certain extent. There are some times where he goes back with other humans, and he rides with other humans, and he gets comms and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just him out running and gunning. We don't see the internal politics of the UNSC and how their government structure is, and how their military is, and the different protocols they have, and all this stuff. So it's cool to see the curtain get peeled back a little bit. Obviously, this isn't the UNSC of the games. You can tell that because of how just kind of ruthless and evil they are, but at the same time, you have to understand they are dealing with a alien race that wants to exterminate them. But I do think that's an interesting aspect to this, so I'm really looking forward to seeing more about the internal politics of the UNSC.
For sure. I completely agree. I think we're going to end it there, though. So, Ethan, plugs. Where can people find you?
Find me at White Cedar One on Twitter and Gravy3448 on Xbox. Let's play some Halo.
And you can find me at the Muffin Mon. You can also follow us at Project X Talk to stay up to date with all of our latest content and interact with us. And if you want to interact with us more, join our Discord. The link is in the description. Until next time, when we do episode 2, we'll see you. Goodbye.